Good afternoon. This is my second time recording this. This is probably the best view you can see. Today was quite the emotional day. I listened to a YouTuber who was 28, very anxious about her 29th birthday because she feels like she hasn't gotten things figured out. I'm not gonna say any names, but she has 2 children a few years apart and feels like she hasn't figured out her purpose. So this is a cause for anxiety. I love positive comments, and it's because I'm supportive. Yeah, but I question, like, anytime you listen to someone, whether they're 26, 28, or 46, 48, if you've already turned 29 and she's scared about turning 29, you can give her advice. And if you listen to somebody 46, they've had more birthdays than you can imagine or that you want to imagine at this time. They're technically in a different generation. I say all that to say, perhaps having children, not saying it's the end all be all, but perhaps that is part of her purpose. She's looking for a purpose, but child rearing might be a part of it. We all have jobs and careers, and maybe you want to find your passion. But like I said under her video, you can find your passion, know your passion. You can read The Purpose-Driven Life and know what you're on earth to do. But that does not mean the execution of it is seamless or that you can even roll the plan out at this time. You can have all these ideas and you can have multiple passions or even just one. But what prevents those of us who know we are from getting to a certain place is the matrix we live in. This is my theory. I don't necessarily want to be held to it. But I feel like if you've been on your own since you're about 20, 22, something like that, maybe 25, if it took you a little longer, that's fine. But you've been out doing your own thing for like 10 years. If you've been doing your own thing and paying your own rent, paying your own way for 10 years, but the economy is crippling, where's the money for the down payment for the house? If every relationship that you have been a part of, and it's not that many, just a couple, but if neither of them ended up in marriage, then what? And now here you are trying to get everything together by yourself. You've never had combined income. I always believed in having my own spot, even in a relationship. Financially, the economy is crippling. Y'all have to excuse my camera. I know it's moving, but I couldn't get my iPad to sit still in the car. I couldn't prop it up on anything because I just couldn't figure it out. But anyway, you're sitting here trying to figure out how to operate in the matrix. And then you do a few calculations and you realize, rent might be a few thousand a month, or at least a couple thousand. Without making about $100,000, you're just stuck in the matrix, the grinder, I work for this, or this plus this equals that. And all you can point to is a bunch of bills. The pennies and, dollars are out the door before you get them. You already calculated what you need for which expense next. And that doesn't even mean everything gets paid on time. It just depends. So imagine if you know who you are, you know your purpose, you're not confused, and you've already turned 29. Then what? What do? Do you fall apart because the next age is 30? And what if you're in that category and you don't have a family? Maybe you have a non-traditional family at 28, but there's folks that are 29 and maybe even 30 who they don't have a single child. Now, some folks are going to argue, oh, this is what's appealing in the dating market. Yeah, it is at first. And that depends on who you ask, the type of man you ask. So initially, it's very attractive. You might get more dates or more people who pretend like they're serious. If you say, oh, you ever been married and have any kids? And your answers are no. It appears like you know, don't even listen to social media. They'll have you thinking you have more options than you can count because of your status, right? So here you are with this status of single, never married, no children. What does that even mean? The type of man who's attracted to you pretends like they're excited. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying you don't really know what the next person wants, even in a relationship. The only person who knows what they want in a relationship is you. And what you have, if you're on the other side of that relationship, in that person, all you have is what they tell you. And so you have to choose to believe what they tell you or to ask for intuition. And then after you pray and ask God for intuition, you ask him for clarity, then maybe you might know something. But at the end of the day, you can be in a relationship. It may even be considered a quote-unquote healthy relationship. You don't know what the other person wants. How do you know they're not excited that you're not married and you don't have kids? Because they never really wanted any of that. So they're dating you because they assumed you don't want it either. How do you know they're not just biding their time waiting as those numbers roll past the clock? Perhaps in a farce to, you know, maximize the time and time you out of your childbearing years. You don't know. Person might be sitting there waiting until you can no longer get pregnant. You don't know that. If you have these morals that you won't get pregnant or, you know, marry before you carry, you don't know if you're dating somebody, you don't know if they're ever going to propose. You think they might. You try to believe. You don't know. So I'm listening to this person talk about, I have these children and, you know, I got this job. I need to find my purpose and my passions and what am I excited about. And here I am thinking, by the time 10 years from now, if you're 28, you'll be 38 and your kids will be grown, right? And so you'll be able to start over at 38, theoretically. But imagine somebody who's already got a career. They already know their passions. They don't know if there's room for their passions to fit. Purpose-driven life teaches you that maybe you shouldn't put all your energy on your passion and force your passion to make money, because you may be putting too much pressure on your God-given gift. Not talent, the talent being the money, but if you go and monetize your God-given gift, then you might have a different type of stress because you're forcing the thing that God gave for you to edify his people. You're forcing that to make money. So the book was excellent, you know? I'm just trying to figure out like which direction I should have gone when I was 24. And I was like, oh, let me read The Purpose-Driven Life. Excellent book. Wouldn't take it back. I think I made the best decision I could have made in my quarter-century crisis at that time. However, if you're on the other side of that and you made those decisions to get a job or a career, what does that even mean? You don't even know if you'll ever make the type of money you thought you were just going to make. Like, you know, by osmosis, just by nature of proximity to the career, by nature of hard work, hard ethic, and everything that you learn, you begin to feel and believe and learn that a lot of it was a lie. Your belief system that your income will be tied to your hard work, dedication, your belief system that your outcomes in life relationally will be tied to your hard work, dedication, your belief that your outcomes in business or in career, networking, etc. will be tied to your hard work, dedication, your belief that your colleagues would just automatically respect you and this and that. All of it's a lie. All of it's a lie. What you learn is that you're living in a matrix. The game is already rigged for certain players to win. And there's a bunch of isms. It doesn't matter which ism you choose. It's a bunch of isms that don't just stop with socializing or socialization. The isms never stop. They follow you in every section of your life. You can just pick a section. Dating, check. Career, check. Job, check. Atmosphere, check. Sometimes relationship, but not so much. What the isms do is they predispose you to biases that other people have and which have always existed, that you might have learned you could overcome just by nature of being intelligent, just by nature of being degreed. You can have as many papers on the wall as you want. None of it keeps you warm at night. None of it adds real value, in my opinion, as a person who has them, to your life. Why do I say that? Because it doesn't change very much. The only thing that I will say that having a degree does is it allows you to float. I'm still very thankful to an extent that I have something in education, because it's sink or swim. People are sinking or swimming, but that's what they used to say. I have a proposal. It's not sink or swim anymore. It's sink, swim, or float. The only thing that my degrees have allowed me to do is float. But I'm thankful because there's a chance that, I'd have been homeless by now, evicted. I could have been sank. I could have sank by now, and so on and so forth, etc., etc. But floating is not swimming. Floating is not swimming. Swimming is you can swim forwards, backwards. You can do breaststrokes, butterfly stroke. You can do what you need to do to achieve. Swimming is also swimming towards the goal, the ribbon in life is, in my opinion, is fulfillment. Most people don't live and die, being okay with 80 years old, 90 years old, feeling unfulfilled. The folks who feel unfulfilled in the nursing home cry every day. How do I know? My sister used to work in one. So at the end of the day, fulfillment is the goal, right? And, when I was younger, I would say balance is the key. I was an undergrad. I'm like, my goal is balance. Work-life balance wasn't really a cliche then, like how it is now. But the concept was, you need to have balance in life. And if you focus all your attention in one area of your life, perhaps you'll succeed there, but you'll fail everywhere else. And that is why I chose the motto of balance. But here I am a few years removed from the concept of balance. And I realize, in my opinion now, it's not just balance, it's fulfillment. You don't even need balance if you're fulfilled in the one thing you're doing. I mean, you should have it. I think it's still important because you're not well-rounded and you can come off pompous if you're imbalanced, right? But if you're the kind of person who doesn't care how people look at you and all this other stuff, and your life is just happy-go-lucky, so you think, or whatever, then shoot for fulfillment. And I say, even for those of us who want balance in life, because we don't see the value in being one-track minded, still seek fulfillment. You can seek it and still not know when or where you're going to find it, or if you'll ever find fulfillment. You don't find fulfillment by just having these pieces of paper on the wall with these letters and stuff. That's not fulfillment. Fulfillment is, I can go to sleep. I've got a certain amount allotted to each account. And perhaps I have somebody who I know loves and cherishes me. And if I'm really lucky, on top of that, I've been able to procreate with an awesome human being. And I think the best thing you can ask for is to have a career. Even if your career is a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't matter. Have a career or a thing you love to do. Have people who love you. And have something you're proud of, or someone, or, it's not just about a thing or an accomplishment or an achievement. It's about a feeling of fulfillment. It's not a plaque on the wall. It's a feeling. It's an internal thing. Like your internal compass will say, good job. It's telling you, it is co-signing that you can breathe. You can't even breathe if you don't make a certain amount in this country. You're gasping for air. You can have as many pieces of paper on the wall as you want. But if your debt to income ratio is not mathing, it's What's the point? Did you need it? Well, in my case, I would say, yes, I needed it. I needed, in my mind, to know that I could exploit my intelligence. Okay, great. The youngest millennial right now is 26. They might be going on 27 this year. But at the end of the day, as the numbers roll by, what you learn, and the oldest millennial is 43 or 44, but what you learn is, and I'm not there, yet on the upper end, but I'm not 26 anymore either. So what you learn is, after you turn 28 and 29, you learn that you have a body of work that you can look at behind you. And you can reflect on undergrad. You can reflect on high school. You can reflect on your relationships. What type of person have you been? Maybe you haven't had except but one relationship. Is there a reason why people don't want to be with you? I don't know. I can't answer those things, right? But every one of us has something we can point at and look at as a body of work behind us. And it includes what you do for a living, as well as what kind of person you are in relationships and friendships, etc. So once you have this body of work that you've collected before you turn 40, I think, those of us who are in that age where it's like, you're not your little teeny bop years anymore, but you're not like middle age. You should be able to look back and say, this is what I've done. But then you should say, this is what I aspire to do. Now, this is going to probably be unfiltered and unwelcome in some circles. But my belief on this next piece is my personal belief. I just don't believe that you wake up at 40 and you start something new. I believe that one by one, brick by brick, early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, and maybe, early 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, I don't know, wherever you are in your journey and your age, is that you build in the 20s and 30s, right? Or you create, rather. I'm not saying you can't build in your 40s and 50s, but you're closer to retirement in your 50s than you are to beginning a retirement plan. So is it worth it to open a new plan? I guess, maybe, I don't know. But, aside from a chance of winning the lottery or lottery-like numbers, it has to be brick by brick. That's going to be the majority of us. So that means you create in your 20s and 30s. And this doesn't mean you cannot continue to create. But what you do in your 40s and 50s, I imagine, is that you continue to build on top of the foundation you already laid. Now, there are a few exceptions. I imagine the person in their 40s would feel the need to create. And what are those exceptions? Tragedy, trauma, loss, compound loss. You lose multiple people in your family, a spouse or a child. And I have to be very specific in this way. It's going to sound weird because I haven't lost a parent. But I don't believe in your 40s and 50s a good excuse for creating something new is a parent or the family you come from, passes away. The family from whence you come. If you go through something traumatic, I'm not downplaying the loss of a parent, but I'm saying if you're in your 40s and 50s and you lose a parent, what did you do? You should be able to, at some point, continue on a journey that you already began, right? After your period of grieving. Maybe that'll be what you need to jolt and start something new. I don't know. But I imagine that the creation comes from a loss of a spouse, a child, the family that you created, or a peer. That kind of loss or compound trauma can birth something new in your 40s and 50s. I don't think it's the other way around, because now we're moving forward and life is a big circle, which means the casket closes on all of us. Father time comes for everyone. So what did you create? Like, what did you start in your 20s and 30s? I don't think you have to have it all figured out, but I think we're in the age group of discovery still. By the time you turn 40, I'm not saying you know everything, but I imagine that I would hope to think that I would know myself enough to say, all right, this works for me, this doesn't, I got it. Not that I got it all figured out, but unless something traumatic happens, which does happen, divorce happens, death of a spouse happens, death of a child, like multiple losses. These things do happen to people in their 40s and 50s. But if it's not something like that, it's building. And you have the advantage of just continuing to build on top of the foundation that you've already laid for yourself. Because losing people older than us is a part of the circle of life. It's just part of life. It's bound to happen at some point. We just don't know when. I don't think you can ever prepare for it. I've heard people lose their parents in their 60s and 70s, just be so devastated, like they didn't know that they themselves was 60 something years old. No shade, I'm just saying. And I'm not being disrespectful. I hope I'm not. I don't know what it's like. Again, my parents are still here. However, I just imagine that one would accept that this is a part of the circle of life. Once you get to a certain age, now it's about you and the family you created. It doesn't mean you don't take in your parents or care for them. Perhaps you can double task and do both. I don't know. But your priorities shift from the family which created you to the family which you created, hopefully, if you're able to do that. So, again, going back to the person in their 20s and listening to people in their 40s who said they don't have it figured out, and I'm like, well, the late 20s and early 30s might have the advantage of having time a little bit. But on the side, in the vein of having time is the acceptance that you don't have to have it all figured out. I think that's the main point I wanted to get out today. We don't have to have it all figured out. I think that the most important thing is to figure something out, learn something new, figure something out about yourself every year, and just don't stop. It's a never-ending journey. Life is a journey. I haven't been on the road too long, but just long enough to know that it's okay if you have a breakup. It's okay if you go through some tragedy. It's okay if you have a broken engagement. It's okay if maybe you even go through divorce. I mean, you can't control everything that happens in your life. Don't beat yourself up about it, regardless to what your age is and what the number is on the clock or the year in which you were born. Don't beat yourself up about that, because you can't change that. It is what it is. The number is what it is. What can you do with that number and with what's left? How can you start over? Can you start over? Yes. That's my true belief. It might take some digging in deep. It might take some flatline, some devastation, or whatever. A setback is a setup for a comeback, right? The cliches. Who cares? It's possible. There have been people who ripped the runway at 80 and 90 and 100 years old. Is it the norm? No. But have there been women and men who created fashion in their 80s and 90s? Absolutely. Glasses, purses, dresses, men's ties and fashion, men's shoes, and so on and so forth. It doesn't matter. But the point I'm making is just learn something new about yourself. Okay, so you're turning 29. The next person is turning 30. Should they fall apart? No, I just think it's every year is a time of reflection. What about the lady who's turning 47? Should she fall apart? She's getting close to 50. No, I've seen some women in their late 40s who look absolutely fabulous. I mean, flawless. And they come from different circumstances. Looking great and keeping yourself in shape is not always a direct correlation with everything's going well in my life. It's a choice. It's a deliberate choice. Every time I pick up something to eat, what did I choose? Am I going to make the excuse that, it was $3 for a bowl of chicken or chicken nuggets and fries? Or will I go to Tzatziki and see that they had roasted potatoes on sale for $2.50 yesterday. But it's not until we get out of the mindset of everything is driven by money that we can find things which are on sale, better choices which may be on sale. I don't have to shop at Aldi to find a sale, and I'm not putting any shade on Aldi. I'm just saying there are sales at Trader Joe's. People would not even believe. I never even stepped foot in Trader Joe's at one point because I thought it was too expensive. It's reputation that precedes decision making. But if the reputation of the store is that it's too expensive for me, it's not on my side of town or whatever, I'll never try to do better. I will never put forth the effort to eat cleaner. But once I know that some of the limitation is me, my own mind, then I realize I can do better even if I make less than ideal. I can do better with what I ingest even if I'm not in an ideal circumstance, even if I don't have a combined income, if I have no one to combine it with. Does that mean I fall apart because my household budget is only based on a party of one? I could. Or I could say, this is not ideal. This isn't how I thought my life would look. This is, I would dare say, even depressing. But after I get through the emotions of what the situation looks like to me, I don't need other people and their opinions about my situation. I got my own. I don't need people to be hard on me. I have my own. Self-doubt, self-limitations, frustrations, and discouragement. With passions and with career. That doesn't mean, to me, that doesn't mean anything. Except you can float. If you sink with a few pieces of paper, then you probably have given up. Not one, but a few. Like 1, 2, 3, maybe 2 at least. It's probably a choice. Some people would say if you sink even with 1 degree, it's a choice. I don't agree with that. Because what if your 1 degree or your 1 accomplishment is not what's in demand right now and you lose your job? So no. But if you've got a few different industries you've tapped into or a few different things you could do, you can float. But is floating sustainable? Is floating pouring into you? Is floating achievement or fulfilling? Like, no. You're just getting by. So I thank God that I can float, but I look for the day when I can swim, even against the current.